going on, everybody? Brandon Dennis here. And a few days ago, I just picked up one of my dream cars. 5 seconds to guess. It is a 2020 Tesla Model X Performance. So in this video, we're going to go over my experience on kind of the purchase, the pickup, the numbers, what it actually cost out the door, what my monthly payment is, as well as a little bit of a background story on how I was able to get to this point. So, a little background story about the purchase of the car, right? So my wife and I were looking for the last, I want to say, 3-4 months about getting a Tesla. So ever since we got to test drive the Performance Model X, it's kind of been a hook. So that adrenaline hit when you hit that gas pedal is instantaneous and it's quick. And it's so quick that if you're not expecting it, your stomach actually decides to drop. And for those of you with faster cars, you're used to that. But if you're not really used to a faster car, it drops. So for the last few months, we've been looking. And we were able to find one that was still a 2020, not quite brand new, so it's not the pricing. So we were able to find one that was leased for probably about 5 months on a business lease. And then it was given back to Tesla. So it was in good condition. It was taken care of. Everything was good. And we saw it for about $96,000 plus or minus. So after talking with my wife for a little bit and I got the thumbs up from her, I was able to place the order, which was they wanted about $1,000 for the destination and then $500 holding deposit. So we're into this now, $1,500. So to be part of this, we also had leased a Mercedes C300, I want to say 3 years ago or so, and it had about a year left on it. So we had a choice to make: either pay off the rest of it, which would have came out to like 15 grand, or we just use it as a trade-in, just pay 9 out of pocket. We didn't want to have both cars at the same time. So this was going to be my new toy, right? So we ended up trading that in, which was about a $9,000 over, plus a little bit out of pocket. So we were into the car about $105,000, and that's what we got our loan for, was $105,000, which we have a 2.7 to 2.5 interest rate. They're still moving it down from 2.7 to 2.5, so the payment will go down slightly. So essentially we're looking at right around $1,500 a month or so for the car itself over the next 6 years, which isn't that bad since these things have a really good warranty period. And again, it only had 1,800 miles on it, so it's got a lot of play to have fun with. So super excited about that. The insurance is about $180 a month for full coverage, top to bottom. Again, this is in Texas, so take that location wise, it'll be changing a little bit for you and your age, but at 28 for in Texas, specifically the Austin area, you're looking about 190-ish bucks. Completely full coverage, thing gets totaled, gap insurance, everything, 190 bucks, which isn't bad at all. So those are the numbers on the car. But the question is, how did I get to this point? So I started out life kind of like most of you. I went to middle school, high school, etc. In high school / late middle school, I realized that I started to like, IT, more specifically the security side of things, right? So more of like the hacking and things like that. So I realized that that's what I wanted to do at an earlier age. So I kind of spent a lot of my free time, hobbies, things like that, focusing on ethical hacking or hacking in general in an ethical way. Like I didn't go in to break into things and get in trouble or anything like that. I mean, I've had my fair share of trouble in high school just by messing with things, but nothing nefarious or anything like that. It was more for curiosity's sake. So in high school, I got a chance to kind of help out the IT administrator there, kind of learning a little bit here, learning a little bit there, kind of getting my feet wet a bit, so to speak, prior to figuring out what I wanted to do. Did I want to go to college? Did I not? Did I want to go straight into work? In my case, I didn't have college paid for or anything like that. I didn't even qualify for grants or scholarships, or well, at least scholarships I didn't apply to as many as I probably should have. So all of my degrees are all based on student loans, right? So just for perspective, I went to a private bachelor's school where they were the only one in the area that had a cybersecurity or ethical hacking type bachelor's at the time, right? There wasn't a lot that even had them online. There might have been a few that had them in terms of like the across the country or anything, but I didn't have money for room and board and things like that, so I had to stay local, and this was the one that had it. So majority of my student loans really come from that being a private school, and that ended up being like, I don't know, like $60,000-$70,000, something like that, for a bachelor's. It's well paid off at this point. Luckily, the IT security career is very lucrative when you start getting into some of the Silicon Valley companies and things like that. So it's paid for itself, but I understand that that's not always the case for everybody. So if I could go back again, I probably would just go to a public school and have my 20, 25, 30 grand in student loans instead of tripling that or doubling it. But my master's was online for cybersecurity as well, and that one was, I don't know, probably another $20,000 or something like that. So with interest and everything, it's probably 130 or something like that now. But the goal is to have it paid off in the next year completely. So that's our goal right now. So going through school, I learned a lot that I was more of a self-learner than what the school could teach me. So for example, by the time I got to my my college education, I had been learning so much about IT and IT security that, it was more of just trading time and money for paper for that degree rather than the knowledge that it was there. I've always just been a self-learner, so that's kind of how I approach things. And ever since then, while trying to work in IT, I've always wanted to start my own businesses, right? And for most of you, I'm sure in the same situation that want to start your own business, the where do I start button really needs to be hit. And that's kind of where the problems are that I ran into. Where do you start, right? I didn't have a bunch of money. I wasn't making, I was making okay money at the time, but nothing like now at this point with, the alternate streams of income, different businesses on the side, as well as my main 9-to-5, that adds up real quick. But years ago when I was just starting out, that wasn't the case, right? I can't dump $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 into an investment to go and build out a SaaS application from a experienced developer, or pay 5 or 10 grand for product just to try something out, right? I couldn't do that before. Now is a different story, but we'll get to now in a minute. Over the years, I spent a lot of time hitting different business models. And if I could go back, I would still do the same thing. The reason being is, you've got business models like drop shipping, membership sites, subscriptions, physical product creation, like your own creation. There's even people who take products, modify them, patent them, and then sell them as their own. There's rebranding. There's working with people who maybe you just work on the advertisement or the website building side. There's freelancing for programming. There's thousands of things that you could do as far as a business model for the side of things, right? So what's important here is that it's good to experiment, which is why I had this channel in the first place. This is why I'm building this channel currently, is I want people to be able to come and learn different business models from all different aspects from somebody who came from a hacker/IT background, right? It's not a requirement, but I feel like some of the stuff that I've seen over the years, just from that perspective, is a very interesting light to kind of poke at a business, because you don't look at businesses quite the same way. So to go back to my original story, I started moving into the security side of things. So now I work for companies that all I do is I break into them. Whether that's physically, whether that's emulating threats from different countries, or emulating threats from different companies, or just people who are trying to do some financial gain. So my entire job is to hack them as if somebody from the outside would. And that requires the same skill sets as those attackers in reality. So coming from that perspective changes things. And what I've learned over the years is the perspective that gives is something very unique that not a lot of people get to experience or even get to see the inside of, right? Every time we see a YouTube video or a movie that's like, oh, a hacker did this, hacker did that, 9 times out of 10, that's not even close. It's not even close. And I might do some reactions in the future, but I'll save those for a later date. But a lot of the hacking stuff you see is not reality. And to go from the hacking side of things to building out different businesses, it changes how you look at things. So I think from my perspective, I can give a really unique look at how to start some of these types of business models and different things that you might never have known to look at until you saw some of the content that I bring out. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people who might not know where to start to be able to go ahead and build out the businesses that they want and build out something that they can sustain for the rest of their lives, right? All of our goals, and most of us, is to be able to do what we want in our lives, right? You don't want to have to get up every day, work 9 to 5, and then rinse and repeat until one day, you get laid off, or you get fired, or COVID happens and everybody gets laid off, the whole company falls under, right? You want to be able to come back and know that you always have something there to sustain yourself during those specific times. And that's really important, because without some of that stuff, we'd be hurting today too, right? This car wouldn't be possible. What we're able to do on a daily basis, my wife and I, is not possible without these alternate streams of income, building out these businesses, and my normal 9 to 5, right? It all combines together for one income. But to know that you're not reliant on one specific stream of income, especially the 9 to 5 one, is really a powerful thing for a lot of people. And that's what I want to portray in these types of videos, where I can teach you guys how to do it from start to finish, with coming in with very little knowledge. Like, you want to learn how to build a website, I'll show you how to build a website. You don't need to be a front-end developer or anything like that to build a website. But for those of you who maybe have some coding experience, do you want to learn how to build a SaaS application by hand? Sure, I'll teach you that too. I've got different businesses going on right now, and right now I'm upstairs writing up an entire new SaaS application for how companies are able to perform interviews, right? So it's that type of stuff. So what I would recommend as a starting point for a lot of you is just do it. And I know that that's a cliche way to say it, but it's really just a matter of getting started. You just have to, put the pedal down, get started, and start something. Starting things is the starting point. And again, that sounds cliche, but most people don't ever hit the start button. So you have to be able to keep and hit that start button and then keep yourself motivated. Which, again, I've got a whole video that I'll link above, as well as post in the description, that goes over exactly how to start a business. And that's where the mentality really comes into play. Without that mental shift, it is going to be very, very difficult to go ahead and build things and get things rolling and, actually push forward in completing a project. Once you complete that first project, regardless of what it is, whether it fails, succeeds, doesn't matter. When you complete that first project, it's a mental change for you that normally happens that gets you to see, okay, I can do this. What did I learn when it failed? What did I learn when it succeeded? You're not gonna pass at everything, right? Not everything you start is going to succeed. I've had countless failures. It took me years of just sitting on my hands before I actually took action and went forward. If you get anything today from any part of this video, is to just move forward and start something, right? That's why on this channel you see a lot of how-to guides, you'll see a lot of insights on different pieces, stuff slowly starts to fit together, but it's important to understand each of these pieces and how they play together. Because a lot of these business models are all overlapping each other, right? There's commonalities between all of them. Knowing how to track your data. How do you troubleshoot a problem? How do you build a website? How do you hook X, Y, and Z into your website easily without having to do a bunch of coding or anything like that? And how do you do that without starting it without any money, right? How do you do it when you have a little bit of money to put into it? Because the tactics change. The launches for your site or your business change dramatically depending on both of those options. Some are better than others for different business models. But again, we'll go over that as we go. So for now, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.